Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Relentless Talk Radio. Today we are talking with Scotty Yang. It's the video lab. My lights just went out. My fancy lights, right?
But they work well.
So we're talking about how to hire a video production company. So if you're a small business owner and you're just getting into video and you're realizing, wow, this is something bigger than I want to manage, and I've got a boatload of content on my phone and in my computer, and I really want to just hire a company to help me out to get this stuff configured so that I can focus on what I do best. So Scotty's going to talk about the things you want to consider when you're doing that. So Scotty, take it away.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's something, it's a relatively simple topic. I mean, when you're hiring, it's just like when you own a home and you're ready to do a project to the house. I mean, you don't just go with the first company, right? You spend some time, you do some research because it's an investment, right? Like we don't just jump into something right off the bat without any research, without any, vetting of companies and checking websites out and getting referral recommendations, looking at the reviews and stuff like that. So the same type of approach. I mean, you want to take that same approach because you got to remember, and I've mentioned this several times in previous episodes, like this is an investment into your business, okay? And you want to make sure you get the maximum ROI from that. And you need to do a little bit of homework. A little bit of legwork up front is going to be required. And you'd be like, you think, well, I don't have time for that. You just got to remember, this is an investment, so you're outputting dollars from your business in hopes that it generates more revenue for you. So if you come with that type of perspective and that approach, that really changes how you view this task and this endeavor of vetting and hiring a production company to help you, produce your content.
We were talking about being self-employed yesterday, and we have a work session every Wednesday. And the idea of investing in your business kind of pre the dollars coming in too, I think is scary for people. Of course it is, right? You have to have right. You have to have a healthy perspective and investing dollars that could be allocated for something else when you've never done it before. But I think you're right. Like, if you're going to do the production thing, you really do want to research your company that you're working with and get referrals. People spend more time shopping for a car than they do some of the folks that they collaborate with. And that's been one of the things that I've noticed over time. It's just something that you really want to spend some time making it careful. And here's the deal. It's not just about having a professional that can do a good job and has a good reputation. It's also about having a personality fit.
Yes. Well, this is the thing. This is something that I always talk about.
You're going to be spending a lot of time with this company, so you better get along with them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a lot of times what happens is, a business hires you to do some video work, whether it's production or just editing work or whatever it may be. And it's oftentimes a one-way street. It's like they just want to dump it off on you and, not collaborate and then what you get, your result is like, you're getting poor results from that, whatever you're putting into that. And so it's a collaboration, and any production company that doesn't view that relationship as a collaboration, you want to, it's a red flag in my opinion. So
yeah, well, I definitely think that, how you and I work together is a collaboration. It's totally a perfect example of collaboration. When you're working with another freelance company, you are literally aligning the two of your missions. Their mission is to create an amazing product so they build their portfolio. When I had my marketing company, Me Too Media Design and Marketing, I had that company for 23 years. And when I started to do web design back, 20 years ago, when I guess it's 20 years ago, and that's crazy. It's 20 years ago now. Yeah. It was back when you still had to write code.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was still having to write code a little bit. And the WYSIWYG waves were just starting to come up.
No platforms where it kind of made it easy, no user-friendly platforms or anything like that?
Yeah, when I went to school for computer design at Pratt in Manhattan, we were writing code in order to be able to design. And So then a company would say, hey, I really want this to be hot pink instead of whatever color I had given. You know,
Yeah.
there wasn't that understanding of that I needed to build something that was indicative of my skill set so that I could get more work, and I would end up having to build a bunch of crap because
Right.
people just couldn't understand the concept of brand. And so I think that when you're hiring a production company, if they're not interviewing you as much as you're interviewing them, that to me is a red flag, because
Oh,
I literally interview the people that I work with on
yeah.
every level to find out if it's going to be a fit. Like when you and I did an interview first, and I knew right away from our interview we'd be a great fit. And we
Yeah.
talked an awful lot about our expectations and personalities, and we shared some stuff about our personal life, and so that we could know we were going to be spending a lot of time over the next couple of years building the digital, Go Digital Faster and the Video Lab, and we needed to be, kindred spirits in that way. So hiring a company that not only has great skills, but also you were saying, when we were talking pre-interview about their demo reel really not being a very good indicative of quality. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. It's so funny. I I have a love-hate relationship with demo reels. I feel like,
Well, for the people who are, let me back up here for a second.
okay.
Some of the people that are watching us have never produced a video. So explain first of all what a production company is, and then secondly what a demo reel is. Because for people that have never seen or even heard this language, it's like we're speaking Swahili.
Well, and you're absolutely right. Well, and it's like even within those terms, right? Production company, and someone like myself who's an independent producer. There are some nuances to that. Even like a production company is literally a company. Maybe they probably have a brick and mortar office. They have staff. They have those sorts of, that type of prototypical production company, what you would see, that type of business.
So it's like the company that would build a movie.
Yeah, kind of.
It's a smaller, obviously smaller thing.
I mean, like, yeah. So, I mean, there's it's what you would think as a production company. It's a company. They have an office. They have staff. They have, their crew. They have, paid employees and that sort of thing. But then there's also folks like me, and there's a lot of folks out there that, such as myself, who are independent producers or independent filmmakers or independent who, to keep their overhead low, they don't do the prototypical, office with paid staff on hand, that sort of thing. But what they do is their staff is their network of other industry independent professionals. So like, for instance, I'm an independent producer. I'm also an independent editor. I get my work from my network colleague who's an independent cinematographer and an independent other producer, that sort of thing. That's how I've been getting my work. And I like that. I've liked that because I like to fly below the radar, and like I'm kind of that type of.
You're independent.
I'm not that type of person, right? Well, the whole COVID thing has definitely thrown that into a wrench, so it's forcing me to re-examine my approach to that. And I built my 12-year career based off of that that model. Some of the best people and the most talented people they don't have a company. They have their independent filmmakers that, and then people know them by word of mouth and reputation and working with other people on other projects over time. And that's how they build their work portfolio and their work pipeline. And then there's the other model where you start a company and you bring staff on, and you also bring on freelancers, and you have all this overhead and that sort of thing.
So that's kind of a choice that you need to make too. When you're choosing a production company, are you going to choose an independent that's utilizing freelancers, or are you going to use a production company that has paid staff? And there's price differences and different ways of working, and also that, like, I prefer to work with independents because I am an independent, and I feel that independents take more responsibility for their work.
Well, and this is the thing that you want to consider, right? Is because, like I said before, when you do, and there's nothing wrong with either way. Like it does, don't like. So just let me make sure I make that
way is fine. No,
there's nothing wrong with that. Like, if you have a production company or not. I can afford to be a little bit more flexible on what I do, simply because I don't have the overhead that a larger scale production company may
Right.
have.
You haven't got, insurance and rent and,
Right.
all that kind of stuff. So a demo reel is literally it's like your portfolio. It's what's showing you all the different ways that a person can work for you or a company could work for you, right?
So the way I look at demo reels to me are lead generators for production companies or independent filmmakers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your demo reel is usually it's like a music montage, very fast paced, high energy, eye catching, very, that sort of thing. Catcher, that's the hook,
right,
of, your recent work. And far too much people lean on a demo reel to justify whether or not I should hire company A or company B. And to me, that's a fallacy, because that's not showing the true work. Because anybody, and I say this a lot, anybody can edit one video really, really well.
right.
The true professionals can do that every single day, 5 days a week, and be able to maintain.
So what you're thinking is that you want to look at their recent work on social and Vimeo.
There you go. So
and also, last night, Instagram television, I've just Relentless Talk Radio, Herman Plank came on yesterday from the Phoenix Fashion Week, and it prompted me to get Relentless Talk Radio onto Instagram quicker than I planned on, actually. And so last night, while I was waiting for my YouTube videos to load, I loaded the first 3 episodes on Instagram TV. So there's lots of different ways. Thank you, Herman, for moving me along. I wouldn't have moved. I've been focusing on Facebook and YouTube so far, knowing that Instagram and TikTok and other platforms are there that I need to move into. But, to your point earlier, I'm one person, so I can my bandwidth only goes so far. So I've had to build the foundation first, but the Instagram, I built a process in last night that while I'm loading my YouTube videos, I can be working on my Instagram TV video. So that's cool.
Here's an interesting thing and it's a little bit of a sidebar, but since we're talking about it, when I was in grad school at Clemson back in 2014, this is before you started seeing the big time emergence of video content and as entertainment on social platforms like Facebook and Instagram. So this was several years ago.
Right.
I actually took notice of that trend because at Clemson, they have a whole area called the Social Media Listening Center. And it's basically like this real-time map of the world and social media things that are trending, that sort of thing. So I was like researching and diving into that academic side of media trends and media psychology, and I took a real interest in that. I began noticing that in my research, I began to notice that the trend was going towards people consuming video content, not just 30-second clips, but long form video content for entertainment purposes. Now, mind you, like this is before what we've seen where we're at now, before what we're at now. And after I left Clemson, I moved back to LA. I tried to start my own company, and I started producing like longer form video content for professional athletes. And it was really interesting to see that in those early days, how people really took to some of the messaging that I was getting across in those series that I was doing. It was a really good experience to go through and kind of see kind of how people reacted to certain things on that. And then sure enough, like the business failed because I didn't take the right approach, right? So is what it is. Lessons learned, that sort of thing. But what I found was really interesting, and the point, the reason why I'm talking about this is because literally maybe 6 months after I had to go away from that business, I started to see like major brands doing what I was predicting was going to happen, which was really weird to see.
It's really interesting because Herman and I were talking about that yesterday. Phoenix Fashion Week saw the trend towards virtual reality, really, and their boot camp was delivered for the first time totally virtually in January, pre-COVID. online, utilizing video and Instagram TV and all the technology available. I just think that this idea of video being a afterthought is really, I think video has become more and more and more important, and hiring a production company is definitely something that, as you're starting to grow as a business owner, you need to look at it, because there's so many different platforms that you can utilize. And if you're a solopreneur, there's only so much time that you have in the day. And also the technology, like, there's not many people that can go, oh, I think I'm going to get on Instagram TV tonight while I'm loading my YouTubes and do that in a couple hours. You know what I mean? Like, there's not many people. There are some people, obviously, but many people are unable to make that leap right away. So having a production company and a social media expert that you can work with is definitely a good idea. However, these are all things that you can do on your own. That's why we're talking about them here on this show in the Video Lab, is that, I did it myself last night in 2 hours using Photoshop to create my thumbnail and using BeLive to create the video, using IGTV to just load it up. It was pretty simple. So,
well, here's the thing, though, is and you should always be doing that. That should always be done. And I think that every business, it's going to come to a point where you're going to need to bring in some professional help. At some point in every business, you're going to want to up the game and up the ante what you're doing. And again, invest in that. You got to remember that, like, you can always be doing your own videos and your own stuff. That's always going to happen. That's always going to be a constant in your business.
Well, I think that you and I have kind of found a hybrid approach, right? Where exactly. You're working on an evergreen video for Relentless Talk Radio, and we're going to be repurposing that for multiple kinds of videos. And now that I've seen how you've produced it, this is one of the benefits of working with an independent production company, which is what you are. You are an independent production company. You're just an independent guy that freelances out. We'll be partnering with each other for me dumping content. Now that I'm understanding how you're needing the content in there, I can pop the content in there, and then you can close the loop and make it streamlined. So that's a really good point. When hiring a production company, some of it is, hey, you know what? I'm hands off. I have no idea. I'm not even shooting video. Like, tell me what to do and I'll do it, right? But then there's also a hybrid approach where you're doing part and the production company is doing part. And no matter what, you're always going to be working together, right?
It's always going to be.
You really want to find a company that is specializing in what your needs are, whether it be a particular type of video that you're doing, like you're doing skateboard stuff, or you're doing fashion stuff. Or, Herman really made me think last night about the different platforms, the different age groups on the different platforms for social media, right? It's always on my mind anyway. But my demographic is more my age group. So Facebook is definitely a good place for me to be posting, because my age group is my demographic. But there's also I want to tap into other demographics with the fashion and the art from a younger perspective. So it is important for me to be on Instagram, because there's younger people on Instagram. But the reason why I'm working with you is because you're fresh and you're hungry, and we have a similar athletic background. We're both interested in fashion, and we're both at a place where we're just driven to grow and move forward. Now, finding the company that specializes in your needs. So if you're a grocery store chain, or so Herman Plank is an engineer. What he does for his day job is completely different than what he does for Phoenix Fashion Week.
Right.
We're finding companies and people that work in your genre. They're going to be able to communicate your needs, but also the personality. You and I have similar personality because we're creatives. You want to work with someone who has a similar personality and feel and workflow, but also is specializing is an expert in your area. So if you're I don't know.
Well, listen, if
you're a lighting store, you want to work with someone who's had really great success with lighting companies.
Well, the thing is, if your intention is to make a 2D style animation explainer video, you're not going to hire a company that is really well known for live action commercials.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what we're talking about. Like, hire for what your needs. If your need is like, I want to create an explainer video that's animated for my product or business, you need to find a company that has someone either on staff or has the ability to create that and that has that in their portfolio, right? I'm not going to go to a company's site and like, oh, all they have is documentaries and live action commercials. Well, I'm not going to hire that company to make a 2D animation explainer video for me.
Right.
Like
that's also going back to the worksheets that we talked about in past episodes. Understanding who your demographic is and what the story is and what your strategy is very important, because once you understand that, and which episode is 2 episodes ago, right? We did 2
episodes. Yeah.
You just go back and on YouTube or on Relentless Talk Radio, and you can check out. I'll put the number of the episode in the comments below later. But understanding who you are, what you're doing, why you're doing it, who you're speaking to, and what your end game is really important. And starting to play with video yourself, I think, is a really great way to kind of trial and error and get stuff out there. Because to our point of the person that's never made video, going out and just anybody can do that part, right? But once you get to the point where you got cash rolling in and you're ready to level up, hiring your production company is smart, and making sure that you're hiring, and not just for your immediate need either, right?
No, before we hold on, but I want to backtrack a little bit, because there's one thing that I want to make sure that our audience understands.
Mm-hmm.
And a good buddy of mine, Matt Trandell, who's a producer here in Phoenix, he always says this: you never want to hire a production company that has an updated website. And he's joking. That's in jest that we're saying that, right?
100%.
Right? Because and for the folks that out there that may not understand what that means, is like, if you hire a production company that has an updated website, means they're not working. That's like, it's like the saying go in the business. It's like, because updating your website takes a lot of time, right? And
I'm in the middle of getting ready to do that now. I've been trying to do it for a year, and I'm forced to do it now because I'm switching platforms.
Well, exactly.
100%. I'm so busy doing my thing that it's hard to get back to my own thing. Yeah.
And that's like, production companies and people that are busy don't have time to update their website. That's why you want to, so we talked about the demo reel being a little bit superficial. It's a hook. It's a great, it's a great surface layer.
But that demo reel could be 5 years old. Right.
So you want to use that, oh, you like the demo reel, fine. Now dive deep into the website. Find actual full projects that they've done. And that's your barometer that you want to, what have they done? Who have they done it for? Is the quality matching kind of what you're thinking of, what you're envisioning of? Are some of the stylistic, the creativity behind it, is that matching kind of what you're looking for? And that's what you want to go through. But even like I said, the websites themselves are not a great most recent work. So that's where you want to lean on, the social channels, the Vimeos, the YouTube pages, because those are a lot, because you can just drop and upload those. Add some, add some text, boom, that's your latest work there. The website takes a little bit more work. Those are done maybe twice. Those updates are done maybe twice a year, that sort of thing. So don't lean on the demo reel, and just know that, I'm joking when I say it, but we joke about it in the industry, but it's also kind of true. It's like, yeah, but if, working professionals, they don't have time to update those websites. So just so you know.
People try to make an appointment with me, and I tell them they have to go to my online calendar, and they're like, well, can't you meet today? Or I'm like, hey, you're going to have to, it's like making an appointment with a doctor. You're going to have to make an appointment with me for a week or 2 out. I might, and people who say they want to come on Relentless Talk Radio, I'm booked until March of next year.
Right.
So every once in a while, I'll have a cancellation. I'll reach out to somebody and I'll say, not every once. It happens regularly. Actually, people have things happen. But I basically at this point, unless I have a cancellation, you're looking at the middle of next year.
Right.
So
Right.
I mean, that's what you want to hear when you're talking with a professional. If someone picks up their own phone in the first ring, you probably don't want to work with them.
Right.
Or,
it's
they might be just starting out and that kind of thing. But for the most part, I don't know. People always say to me, Michelle, you're busy. Yeah, I am.
I am. That sort of thing. So, I mean, just, again, these are just tips. These are things to help you for folks that may not have, like, that have no idea where to start, where to begin with. Like, that's what we want to get. Like, these are the things that you want to look for, potential red flags in that to help you out, to help you kind of get the right pick that you may need, that sort of thing.
You
So,
just Google production company. I mean, how would you even begin?
I mean, that's a great, video production companies in Phoenix or whatever city you're in. That's usually the best place to start.
Right.
A lot of cities will have a trade association. So like in Arizona, it's the Arizona Production Association. And so they have a directory that you could look. So there's probably a directory of that similar type, within your city or your state that you can lean towards. If you're like looking to really spend big dollars, then contact your state's or local film office. That's a good place to start because they'll get, those are where like the larger budget production companies will lean on in those cases. So those are some areas that you can do some suggestions when trying to seek out.
And Arizona actually does have a film office. I was at the Phoenix Film Festival several years ago when Bob Parsons was really kind of integral in getting the film production portion of our state. I'm not sure what it's called. It's called the Arizona State Film something, right? Did you know what it's called?
Digital media, I believe. Yeah. So Matthew Earl Jones is the head of that. Great guy. I've actually worked with him. I've sat in an editing bay with that guy for hours working on a video for the film office. He's a really cool guy, and they're doing some great stuff in terms of trying to get production back to Arizona. For many that don't know, several years ago, they eliminated all the tax credits offered to production companies to come to Arizona, bring their crews, bring their economy basically to the state. And since that has happened, we have lost out big in terms of this industry, getting a lot of economy back into our local areas, because all those companies are now going to places where they have tax credits like New Mexico and Atlanta. And so they have been working hard. Bob Parsons, Matthew Earl Jones, and a lot of people behind the scenes have been working really hard with state legislatures to get those tax credits back on the table so we can get those large budget productions back to the state, because they actually do produce millions of dollars of economy for the state.
Oh, 100%. And, God love Bob Parsons. I used to work for him at GoDaddy. And he's like a consummate entrepreneur. He's got his hands in everything. He started a software company out of his garage, and now he has Sneaky Big right across from Scottsdale Harley Davidson, which he owns. Love that guy. I just love how much energy he puts into his work, and that he just really steps up. Vietnam vet, a true blue American. He just, I'm sure he's got flaws like every other person. Everybody does, but
we all do.
He's really, we all got him. But he's really works hard for entrepreneurs generally, and I just love some of the work that he's doing. And he still has Go AZ motorcycles, and really for the most part he owns most of Hayden Avenue, close to where GoDaddy is here in Arizona. So it's pretty interesting. So you that's a good point. Is you can Google, you can look up AZ production companies or production companies in your area. You can go to your state and local film office, or you can also go to networking organizations like Business Networking International, for example, BNI Arizona. I've been a member for years. I'm not currently a member, but you can always look them up. BNIAZ.com. My friend Nate and Kelly Dominguez own BNI, and there are several video people that have been vetted into a BNI chapter, and as a result, they're people that you can kind of, I'm not going to say there's never been a bad fit for BNI, because they're an organization like every other organization. One can have a bad fit, but for the most part, my experience has been that you'll get a really great professional when you look at a networking organization like BNI that pre-vets their members.
Yeah. Well, and that certainly helps, right? Being able to go with something that does pre-vet, because those you're getting in front of the serious folks, right? Folks that are really serious about the work that they do.
The other thing you can do is you can talk to as you're looking at videos in your genre, you can call up your competitors or you can call up your colleagues and say, hey, listen, who did you use for your video people? The referral marketing is, I think, the best way to go. If you can get a referral to someone that's worked with someone in the past, and usually in any industry, in the health and fitness industry, I have lots of trainers and other health coaches and yoga teachers that come onto my Relentless Talk Radio Health and Fitness group, and I don't consider them competition. I think if we all post really cool stuff, then everyone's enriched, and the people that want to work with me will work with me, and the people that want to work with Jody Stokes or Laura Roach or Kim Ewing or any of the other people off the top of my head, I'm thinking of 3 of them, Deanna Evans, they'll work with those people. It's like when I was a financial advisor, there was a million financial advisors. There's only one me, right? So there really is no competition in this world. I think water seeks its own level. People are going to look to you for what your skill set is, what your genre is, what your personality is. All those things are going to be very important as a video production professional, but they're also very important, so people are aware of that when you call and say, hey, listen, I really loved your video. They're going to love the compliment. And hey, who'd you work with? So you can always do that kind of stuff. Yeah. So you're saying that you shouldn't actually rely on immediate needs, right? You should.
Well, like I said, this is all going back to your investment. Like, you're hiring a lot of the, when you hire a company, like, you're hiring them for the day, right? You're paying for the day regardless, or half day, whatever, and again, it's about maximizing your investment. I'm not going to hire a production company to only shoot this one enough footage for a 30-second commercial. Well, that makes absolutely no sense. You want to maximize your use. Like, if you're hiring a company, don't just shoot for the one thing you have in mind. You want to shoot for and get a bunch of extra footage that you can then repurpose that footage and use it for your content. So, like, it's good practice to actually set line items in your budget, to where you do one big shoot a year, or if you can afford it, depending on your business model and the type of business you're in,
and then repurpose the clips.
You do 2 shoots a year, and then that way that's footage and content for a year or 2 years or more, depending on how it looks and the lifespan of whatever you're shooting. You don't ever want to shoot for one thing. You always shoot to use for multiple purposes across the board.
And this all goes back to really understanding your why, what you're doing, who you're doing it for, and where you're going. Because and people always say to me, Michelle, what are you doing? But I'll always tell them what's happening on the road. And people are oftentimes fascinated by where I know I'm going to be in 5 years or 10 years. So everything I do, I'm always thinking, like, this episode right now, we started doing this and decided to create Go Digital Faster. So we're actually producing the content as we're building Go Digital Faster, which is a membership site where people can tap in and have access to all these videos and additional worksheets and additional gimmies and experiences for a very low membership rate that's going to give business owners who are just starting out in video and digital online marketing and in photography some really great value. But we started this conversation a year ago when you and I did our interview. I said, hey, Scotty, I'm thinking about something. What do you think? And it's the long game, which is one of the other things that you wanted to talk about, which is don't just hire a video production company for right now, this particular commercial, but you want to hire, like you and I already our joke when we talk every Wednesday that we're going to 10 years from now, we're going to be on a beach somewhere and your kids are going to be like 10 and
oh my God, 15.
And 15, oh my God, he'll be going to prom.
Oh my
I'll be
God.
watching your eldest go to prom. Right, I know. It's like college, right? And let me tell you, that's how my dad built his businesses. When my dad passed away and I stood up in his wake, I looked out in the room and half of the people in the room were business people that we had a long game with. Yeah. People that bought businesses for my father and myself and took our dream and made it their own. And those having long-term relationships is the secret sauce of life, right?
Well, okay. So again, like if you think about what we've talked about, I mean, there's legwork involved to find the right company for what you want to do. There is. And anything you do, right? You hire an employee, it takes legwork. You got to, you got to vet them, you got to interview them, that sort of thing. That's basically what this process does as well.
It's like dating.
It is. It is. Absolutely is. So
you're getting into a relationship. Yeah.
You are getting into a relationship. And so you want to, when you find a production, this thing's like, it's about, creatives have certain styles, right? My style of editing differs from editor B style of editing. There's a look, there's a feel, there's a way that we present it. Same thing with cinematographers, that sort of thing. Production companies have particular styles, right, that make them unique from another company. When you find, and that's what you're looking for. You're looking for someone that has a style that you like, that matches what you're looking for your business or your brand. And you don't want to have to repeat this process over and over and over, because it is time consuming, right? So you want to build a long-term relationship with a production company that you find. It might take a little while, you might have to go through a couple at first, but man, when you find the right production company and you start building that long-term relationship, you're eliminating all that search and vetting time, right? Now you can focus on the real work that you need to do. And the longer you build that relationship, your guys are on a cohesive wavelength. It makes the work much more efficient and much less time consuming for you. And that way you can focus on what you do best. They can focus on what they do best, and everyone gets what they need. And you get the results that you want. So
100%. It's funny. My dad, when I was a kid, radio was the thing, right?
Yeah.
And so my father created a really great relationship with the radio station, and this guy, his last name is Weinhagen.
Okay.
And when my dad passed away, I found a recommendation from Mr. Weinhagen for my dad when he sold his bicycle shop and was going back to the kind of the airlines for a period of time, for a very brief period of time. My father went and worked for somebody else, and then he went and started another company. That's what we do, right?
Yeah.
But I remember reading the letter and just thinking, it wasn't just about my dad having a relationship with a radio personality or a salesperson. They had a long-term relationship, and they understood each other's businesses, and they got really invested in each other's businesses. Like you and I had a conversation yesterday about both of our businesses and where we're going. And and when you really know who you're working with, and sometimes people say like there's a separation between business and personal. I don't think so. I think that when you're a solo entrepreneur, or you're a small company and you do business with other solo entrepreneurs and small companies, the heart is always involved. You're always looking at the mouths that are being fed. And I watched Tom Hatton this past week, opinions about who he is personally, or what decision he made one way or the other. What I'm thinking about is, here's a man who's my age, who has 1,500 families he's responsible for. And when you're a business owner, that's the way you think. When you're aware of the fact that when you have employees, that's how you think. And if you're a solopreneur, it's partnering with other companies. When I look at your son and your daughter in your lap, I'm thinking about where my business is going and how my business can support putting food in those children's mouths eventually. You know what I mean?
Right.
Everything we're doing is, and I think that sometimes people shy away from that kind of deep relationship with people, but I'm here to say that is not what you should be striving for, that, because we spend so much time working, especially if you're a solopreneur. I had a guy come over, look at my trees the other day. He's going to be sponsoring me for the Micalizzi ride, JW Landscaping. And Jake and I were talking about the time commitment it takes to be an entrepreneur. I mean, you're literally stopped in a parking lot working on your computer. It's taxing on your relationships. It's because the people have to understand that you're constantly working. So it's very important that when you're choosing any company to partner with, that you're keeping your heart and your sanity in mind when you're doing it, right?
Absolutely. And there's, it's a big decision. It's an investment, and we'll get into more next episode on you found the company. Now, how do I work best what does that relationship work look like, and what's my role in that? So that's what we'll focus on more next week, and kind of like help guide you a little bit and give you some tips and suggestions on how to make it a smooth collaboration, especially if you're a first-time person hiring a production company. And it really just makes the whole process a lot smoother just by being aware of certain, of these tips. Well, that in itself just helps that process along.
So we try to give somebody a tool and an application every day, and we've been forgetting to revisit that. Is there anything on top of your head that you can think of?
I'm actually, I don't know how a specific just yet, but I did discover that it's a professional grade application, but I believe they still offer a free version. It's probably a little bit watered down, so you probably can't do like some of the in-depth things. But if you're out there and like you're like, I kind of want to test out these waters and learn an application for video editing, DaVinci Resolve I believe they still offer a free version of their editing platform. It's worth a shot. Give it a check out. There's a couple other new ones that are probably a little bit more user friendly in terms of non-professional video people. I'm going to look into those a little bit more before I can suggest. I feel comfortable suggesting them. So there's more tools and tools out there that are going to be that are helpful for like the non-avid video person. So I'm going to look into those a little bit more, and I'll have some suggestions in the upcoming episodes.
I'm looking up the DaVinci Resolve right now to see if they still have a free platform. It's called DaVinci Resolve 16. Is that one? Okay.
Yeah.
And let's see. I'll bring it on screen so we can look at it together. So is this it?
Yep.
The world's only solution that combines professional 8K editing, color correction, visual effects, and audio post-production all in one software tool.
Again, like I said, it is a professional grade product. It might be a little intimidating for some of you folks out there.
Yeah.
But if they have the free version still available, download it, open it up, just take a look at it. I mean, you can YouTube tutorials, beginners guides. The thing with editing applications like that, once you learn the basic command keys, that's all you really need to know.
So maybe a week for the next episode, we can research a little bit more and see if there is a free version, because I'm not seeing it right away. But that doesn't necessarily.
I know that they used to offer that as a free demo version, but which was actually quite robust. Because usually when you download a demo version of something, like, I mean, you hardly can use any of the capabilities. And I remember they had actually quite a bit of capability within their demo version, but that may have, that was a couple years ago, so that may have changed.
Yeah, so do a little research on it, and we can. Yeah. This is actually kind of a good way to demonstrate what it looks like to research. Hey, I've learned about this thing, and maybe it might be something that's good, maybe it's not. But do a little research and come back next week, and Scotty will let you know. And this Black Magic Design is the name of the company that has produced this particular thing. Looks like they're everywhere.
Yeah, the Black Magic is a well-known company within the production community. They make cameras, applications, other various hardware, web streaming hardware. So they've been quite a good company, make good products. And I mean, I can go into some nerd talk about the backstory of how DaVinci Resolve, but I won't bore.
We're at 44 minutes. We always go over, but what can you do? So, hey, Scotty, this is a good example of people will tell me, "Oh, I'm so bored," and I'm like, I don't know how you're bored. Like, there's just so much. If you have interest in anything, dig in. I was talking about creativity yesterday on Relentless Talk Radio. Reading and researching and trolling. if I'm in line at the grocery store too long, I'm looking at my phone like, okay, what's going on? Like, what can I do? And just last night, getting up on Instagram TV, I mean, thank you very much, Herman Plank from Phoenix Fashion Week, because you forced me into Instagram TV faster than I would have otherwise. But that's how it works, right? When you're in searching for your production company, you're gonna learn a bunch of other stuff that you hadn't even anticipated. And sometimes that other stuff that you learn while trolling or being curious or hiring something changes your life in a way that you wouldn't possibly have. My lead revenue generator came from building a relationship with a nutrition company that was totally not expected.
Right.
And I look at that relationship like the bank for everything else.
Right.
But I wouldn't have stumbled upon it had I not had something not work out and was trolling other opportunities in other directions that completely different to that direction. And then poof, there's a solution. You just never know how the solution is going to hit you.
Well, that's the thing, is like you may stumble on something that you had zero intention of finding, and it leads you down a new path that, opens things up for you. So,
well, our relationship and the video lab and the Go Digital Faster, which includes Brandy Lawson from Fiery FX and Jillian Millam from Early Morning Light Studios, the perfect example of 3 different relationships that started for 3 very different reasons. Yeah. And, just me as the hub. Hey, what do you think, guys? Why don't we do this thing? So that's how it works. So if you want to make an appointment with Scotty and I to talk about your video needs, and maybe all of this sounded like Swahili, you'd like to get a free consultation, you can go to meetwithmick.com. You're like, it sounds like they're talking about something cool, but I don't understand a word they just said. Maybe you might want to give us, and that's okay. I mean, like if you're, I don't know, if you've never seen a cow before and I'm describing what a cow looks like, you're not going to really get the cowness of things until you actually see a cow, right? So just pulling an idea out of the sky, right? So you can go to meetwithmick.com and choose a free consultation with Scotty and I, and we'll talk about your video needs. So that's our story, and we're sticking to it. We'll be back here again on the 4th Thursday, and we'll talk some more about choosing a production company, get down to the nitty-gritty, and we will dig into this idea of DaVinci Resolve and see if it's something that maybe might be useful for a new business owner who's dipping into video for the first time, or it might be something you need to put on your radar for later. So Scotty, thanks a lot, dude.
No problem. Thank you.
I love our hats today. This is my friend, the motorcycle princess.
Oh, awesome.
Isn't that cool? She's out touring the world on her bike, Miss Piggy, that happens to be this color pink. It's Pepto-Bismol pink.
Wow.
Yeah. So there you go. Another really awesome relationship that came out of nowhere. But motorcycleprincess.com if you'd like the hat.
Sweet.
And you have your Heights hat on.
Yeah. So this is a prototype, but this hat is going to be hopefully shipping pretty soon to me. So they'll be up on Heights Apparel's website. Hopefully.
I definitely want one. I've become a baseball cap kind of girl.
It's not going to be this color though.
You get wrinkles on your forehead, you want to wear a hat.
Oh yeah, well, it's not going to be the color. I chose it. I didn't like the brightness of this color, so I picked a different color for it. So, but yeah, the patch will be the same.
Yeah, I want the hat. All right, everybody, we'll see you again next week on the second Thursday. Well, not next week, the week after that, on second Thursday. In the meantime, if you want to catch Relentless Talk Radio, it's every Tuesday from 2:30 to 3:30 live on Facebook, and then it goes to replay on YouTube and now Instagram TV. Woo woo! See you later, dude.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye.